everybody. This is Constance from Mysterious Galaxy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight, we are having an awesome start to the week with all things YA witchy sorority goodness. So we are celebrating the Ravens tonight with authors Kass Morgan and Danielle Paige. So big virtual round of applause. Yay! And just to give you a little intro, you may know Kass Morgan. She has written The 100, which recently was turned into, well, not too recently now, a TV series. And she is also an editor for middle grade and young adult fiction. And then Danielle Paige, many of you know the Dorothy Must Die series as well as Stealing Snow. And then we also had her in the store, I think we decided it was about a year and a half ago, for Merit Tidebreaker. And there is also a very special thing that we are having going to happen during this event. We have Nina Tarabus, who is a tarot expert. So we have a great event. And the book, The Ravens, as I kind of briefly hinted at earlier, has all of the things that we love. It has a sorority, but not just any sorority, a sorority of witches. And of course, there is a newcomer who is kind of threatening the hierarchy of ye olde sorority. And everyone has to come together, though, to fight something that is way worse than the regular drama of what can come with a sorority. And before I pass it off to our authors, just the Vanna White section to let you guys know, we have our chat section to the right-hand side. That is just for everyone's general chat. And then if you have any questions, make sure you ask them. Questions are the most fun part of an event. You have the authors at your mercy, so make sure to ask whatever questions you have. And if you look down below where it says ask a question, that is indeed where you can hit that button and submit your questions for our authors. And then most importantly, the best way to celebrate a new book is to purchase said book, and you can get a personalized book plate when you purchase The Ravens. So if you would like to support the authors of Mysterious Galaxy, you can click the purchase books below. Oh no! Kass is accepting and coming back on. We have shenanigans already going on with the internet. There is magic in the air, and magic and technology do not always like each other, but we shall make it work, and we'll get Kass back on. Or I can do an interpretive dance in the meantime. Everyone can come up with their best internet spell. That's actually a good question. Like, oh, yes. Danielle's hair does look amazing. Tiffany is giving shouts out to your
Hi,
awesome
Tiffany.
hair,
Thank you. Oh, there she is.
Ah, there we go. Success.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Oh, you are all good.
Wicked magic is afoot.
Right? Indeed it is. Well, I just explained to everyone where they have questions, where they can purchase the books. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Kass and Danielle. They're going to discuss a little bit, and then they are going to each have a tarot reading, which is beyond cool. It's just, so excited. So I will go ahead and I will see you guys back again when I moderate the Q&A. And don't forget to ask your questions, everybody.
Thanks so much, Constance. It looks like we may have lost Nina, so if you see her reappearing, will you let her back in? And thanks so much, Mysterious Galaxy. We're delighted to be visiting and hanging out with you guys virtually. I wish we could be in California right now.
Yes, we're so excited everybody's here, and thank you for joining us.
For those of you who don't know, if you are just big Mysterious Galaxy fans and come to all the events without knowing who you're seeing, I'm Kass Morgan, the co-author of The Ravens with Danielle Paige, and our book, The Ravens, came out in November, and like Constance said, it is about a sorority of witches, and we each wrote half the book. There are two main characters, Vivi and Scarlett, and I took Vivi and wrote all of her chapters, and Danielle wrote all of Scarlett's chapters. And yeah, do you want to say a little bit? Oh, good, Nina's back.
Sorry, my mistake.
Oh, no worries. Danielle, do you want to explain why we're here tonight with Nina in particular?
So we have a tarot card reader. We are so excited. Nina, what's your last name? I don't have her last name here.
I typically use my middle name, which is Yasmin.
Oh, okay. Nina Yasmin, thank you so much for being here. We're
Yes, of course.
going to have a little reading and have a little explanation of tarot, and then talk a little bit about the book.
Yes. So the reason this is so exciting, but also sort of terrifying to have one's cards read publicly, is that the magic system in the Ravens is based on tarot. So every witch has powers that are drawn from a different tarot suit and a different form of elemental magic. And so Danielle and I did our research. We also exercised a lot of artistic license when it came to building the magic system in the world. So Nina, apologize in advance if we got something wrong, but we thought it'd be really fun to talk about the Ravens with a tarot expert and have our cards read, which I don't know. I'm very excited, but it's also very personal. So Danielle, how are you feeling about this?
Makes me very nervous to get my cards read, but I'm really excited. And I wanted Kass to tell us a little bit about your experience with tarot in college, because you had a special connection to tarot.
Yes. So Nina, again, I know it's amateur hour here, and I realized I was operating a little big for my britches, but in college, I ended up taking tarot lessons at the Wiccan supply store in town. It's like something right out of the craft. And I fell in love, and people started to hear that I could read tarot cards, albeit as a beginner. And I started to get hired on the weekends as like Saturday night entertainment in different dorms. So I read a lot of cards, helped people make the big decision about whether to apply to law school or med school, which seems to be the only thing people cared about in college. So it's been a while, so I'm very excited to, see an expert at work and see what's revealed.
Okay, awesome. So where do we start? Does anybody have questions? Or we just kind of talk a little bit about my experience with it?
Yeah, can you give us like a very short overview of what tarot is and sort of the history, and then how you came to find this calling, this ability?
Totally. So a lot of people have a lot of different ways they understand and process the tarot, but I don't really believe it is anything related to fortune telling. I really don't believe that much in destiny. I think that for a lot of people, the majority of us, our life is what we make of it. There's certain things that are out of our control, of course, and there's certain political and other factors that play a big part into why our lives end up the way they do. But I think I use tarot personally for myself and for my clients as a way to kind of look at somebody's blueprint, not only to look at why we are at the specific junctures or crossroads we may be at in our life, which is, to want to reach out to get a reading. But also, are there things from our past that may have played more significant of a role than we were able to understand? Are there things about our past we need to process? Are there things about our lived experiences that we haven't fully been able to integrate into our present day life? And that's potentially why we're running into challenges, struggles, difficulties at some type of crossroads. I also think when it comes to the future, tarot is always going to come up a little bit in the future, but it doesn't mean anything is going to happen certain. It's just an opportunity when we look at our future card and when we look at how the tarot wants us to interpret what can happen in the future. A way to understand these are doors that were here all along that you maybe never saw. These are doors that can be open if you choose to walk through them. These are doors that you need to shut because they're not doing you any service. And so ultimately, it's not like a reading is going to greatly change what's going to happen in your life, but it can help give us better perspective into understanding ourselves, into understanding and integrating our spiritual experiences, our physical experiences, our emotions, our mental health, a lot of different things. And so I use it to as a blueprint and kind of as a tool to help guide people who are necessarily having difficulties, but maybe just need a little bit of clarity, or maybe they have a really good sense of who they are, what they need, and they want somebody else to give them a different perspective on it, or they just want to hear it from somebody else. I just want to hear that things are going as well as I think they are. I want to make sure that X, Y, and Z is falling into place the way that it should. So typically that's how I use the tarot. Again, I also work from a very psychoanalytic lens. And so I think that comes into how I use the tarot. And when it comes to the history of the tarot, it depends on who you ask. There's so many different people that see it originated from so many different places. But from my understanding, it over time, its meaning changed. A long time ago in a lot of parts of Eastern Europe, it was kind of used more as regular playing cards, which is why you'll see a lot of similar shapes in the tarot that you would in a regular deck of playing cards today. It really depends on your spirituality, on your religion, on your culture, and how you view the tarot. But so everybody really has their own understanding of where it comes from, the history, because it's kind of one of those things that's really mysterious within itself, and nobody really knows where it came from. Some people believe that there's certain cards in the deck that play in religious forces, such as God and the devil, and so to play with these cards and to have these religious pieces added into them or taken away from them is different types of card games, if you will, if that makes sense.
So when someone comes to you, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So when someone comes to you, they come with a question, like how do the cards, when you work with the cards, how does it work?
Sometimes they'll come with a question. Typically, and we'll do this for the both of you when we do our readings too, I will ask the person if there are any intentions they want to set for the reading. What are the reasons you are reaching out for a reading? Are there any things you need clarity on? Sometimes they'll tell me, sometimes they won't. Sometimes people will come to me and say, oh, I really want to get spiritual clarity, or I really want to get a better understanding of what's happening between me and my partner. And all the cards we pull have nothing to do with relationships. It's like, that's not what the tarot wants to give you. I always remind my client, when we're working with the tarot or any type of spiritual forces, you're going to get what you need. But that might not always be what you want.
So can you read cards without intent? Like if the person doesn't bring you an intent? Like can you?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes when I don't get an intent, it works out better, because sometimes people will have an idea in their mind of like, I really want to know what's up with my job. I'm going to see a tarot reader because I want to know if I'm going to get that promotion. I want to know if I'm going to get a new whatever it is. And that's not the area that the tarot wants to focus on. Sometimes the tarot wants to focus on another area of our life because we're either not fully conscious of all the turmoil or stresses or whatever it is that may be weighing us down, or it's an area we're ignoring and the tarot is reminding us, no, this is not where you need to be focusing. This is not where, in this present moment, this is not where we need to be drawing our attention. We need to be talking more about your health, not your job. We need to be talking more about your finances, not your partner. So it really depends.
I love that. And I know it's hard to put you on the spot right now, and don't worry, we won't be insulted, but what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to the representation or portrayal of tarot in pop culture?
Thank you for asking. Nobody's ever asked me that. I think a pet peeve of mine is the assumption that I can read people's minds, or that I am a fortune teller, which are totally different things. And I think another pet peeve of mine is when people will try to test me. Like I've had people come and be like, I don't really believe in this, so I'm going to see if you're right. What color am I thinking about right now? And it's like, how the fuck should I know? What does that have to do with this? So it really depends. But yeah, those things really frustrate me, because I think overall there is this kind of, I think over the last few years, we've been more and more people get interested in tarot and it's become more mainstream. But I think a lot of people think that it is something that is like gimmicky or like a joke, or like I just have a deck of cards and there's no other parts that play into how you do this, and anybody could just pull cards and make up random stuff. So I think that there is not enough attention focus on how the mind, body, and spirit are all connected. And if one is out of line, all things will be out of line. If one area of our life is not flowing smoothly, then it's likely that there's going to be a ripple effect. It's going to affect a lot of different areas of our life and how we process the world, and how our mental health greatly affects our connection with our spirituality, our connection with our spirit. And the two are often seen in medicine and in our world as very separate, that the mind and body are two separate entities. And in tarot, it looks at all three as one whole whole person. You can't have a healthy person without a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy spirit.
I love that.
I'm excited.
So, and one other question: do you have a special deck, or does it matter? Like we have these that came along with our books at Barnes and Noble, and I got some fun ones, which are fashion ones, and these are music. Does it matter like what you?
Does it matter? I learned on the Wild Unknown deck long time ago, and so it's just the one that I'm the most comfortable with, so it's what I use. For me, I kind of trained my mind when I was learning tarot. I felt very disconnected from looking at pictures of people, particularly like in the middle weight and a lot of famous sex pictures of people who look like me. So I identified more with a deck that showed animals and didn't have pictures of human beings at all. So that's the one I prefer to use, and it's been great. I've learned it's the only deck I've really ever used. I've dabbled with some other ones, but I always end up coming back to this one.
And Cass, do you have the same deck from college, or do you have a new deck?
Yeah, mine, I actually thought I had it out. It's the Rider-Waite deck, which
That's a really popular one. I think that's like the most popular tarot deck ever sold.
Oh, I think that Cass is frozen. I'm not sure. Is he still there?
Cass?
I think she might be frozen. I will just keep asking questions. So do you have you used the same deck for a long time, Nina?
I have used this deck since I started reading in 2015. I started reading tarot, and I've used this deck pretty much the whole time.
Cool. And when did you decide that you wanted to try tarot? Like, what was the what started you?
So the short answer is that my best friend went to get a reading in Brooklyn, and she was like, "Oh, I have a tarot reading today. Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. What do I do?" I just sat there and watched this person read for my friend, and I had never seen tarot read like that. I'd never seen it discussed that way, and this person was amazing. And at the end of the reading, the tarot reader pulled me aside and was, "Look, I don't really do this often, but I feel the need to tell you that you'd be really good at this, that this seems like something that would be important." You were able to sit and hold a lot of space during that reading, and I am thinking about offering classes. Do you want to take a class with me? So I took it like an 8-week course with my friends, and I learned tarot that way. And during that time, I had just finished graduate school as a social worker, and I was working in a psychiatric hospital. And as I worked more and more with people who suffered from a variety of severe mental illnesses, I started to realize that there were, not all, but there were a few people that I came across in my line of work who something else was going on with their spirit that I could feel. It was not just a severe mental illness. And as I became more aware of what was going on with my clients, it was at this time I was getting really into tarot, and so I started integrating and understanding spirituality in a really different, more in-depth way, and also seeing some of the people that I worked with on a inpatient psychiatric ward in Brooklyn. I started to realize that there might be some other spiritual forces playing into what's going on and why some of these folks are suffering from some of the ailments that they're suffering from. It's a very westernized way to look at mental health, to say, oh, if you're hearing voices, oh, if you're seeing things, that must mean you're crazy. In a lot of other cultures and in a lot of other indigenous religions, that is seen as a gift. And once you are able to work with shamans and work with people who can help you harness and channel that gift, you are more likely to be able to have spiritual authority for your communities, for your tribes, for whoever it is. And so I started to really look at some of the clients that I've been working with. Yes, a lot of them did suffer from legitimate severe mental illness, but there were a few where I was more under the impression, the more I learned about the tarot and spirituality, I understood they just might have never been given the tools in the setting to fully explore what some of the things they're experiencing means, if that makes sense. And so when I started kind of putting and piecing all that together, I really decided, I want to focus more of my mental health training and more my understanding about the human experience around spirituality and around what we often ignore or are quick to write off as being crazy or unwell. And that's when my practice really started to kind of flower and flourish.
That is so cool.
I had no idea that it could be used that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle, do you want to go first with the reading in case my internet cuts out again? At least we will give people a little taste.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I'm excited. Thank you for being willing to share. It's very personal too.
It is. And normally I would say to clients, I operate a tarot session the same way to operate a therapeutic session. Everything that we discuss is confidential between us, but obviously it's not the case here. So let's
tone of silence, everybody.
If there's anything that comes up that I feel would be inappropriate for me to share with you on camera, I will reach out to you individually and let you know what comes up. If it's something that I feel is not safe to share, sometimes people's traumas come out, sometimes other things come out, and I would never want to cross a boundary that would make you feel traumatized or disrespected.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you so much, Nina.
Of course. Okay, love. So this is the deck. Typically how it works when we start a reading is I will ask my client to shuffle the deck so I can get their energy on the cards and get a better understanding of who they are. I cleanse my deck before I do any reading, just to kind of clear of whoever's energy was on it before, even if it was my own energy. And like I was in a funk that day, I pulled cards for myself. I want to keep this as clean as possible. Since I can't have you touch them, the next best thing, and what I do for clients when we do virtual readings is we'll ask you to describe to me how you would like me to cut the deck up, because we're going to cut it up, we're going to put it back together into one big deck, and we're going to pull cards from there. So as best you can describe to me what feels right to you.
Are you not supposed to, or is the screen, it just looks like it's blue on my end?
Yeah, Nina, your image is coming in and out, so we may have to have you describe what you're doing and seeing.
Okay. If you want to describe to me how you want me to cut the deck, I'll do my best to go on. Say that again?
You cut it in thirds?
Okay. What would you like me to do with the first third?
Put it underneath. And then then the middle one on top.
On top of all of them. Okay. Do you have anything else that feels like you need to do to the deck? And even if it feels weird, like it's okay, just go with your gut.
Could you just like split it in half and like put it back together?
Sure. When I split it in half, which half would you like to be on top and which half would you like to be on the bottom?
The right side.
Got it. Right side on top. Okay. Anything else? Okay. So we're just going to do a very short, quick mind, body, spirit, past, present, future situation in the sake of time. So all right. Mind, body, spirit, past, present, future. Okay, beautiful spread. I'm not seeing anything initially or catching any feelings off of you initially that makes me feel like you're in a type of distress or pain, at least not emotional or physical at this time. When I'm looking at mind, I'm looking at the Fool. I'm going to show you the cards as I pull them. Can you see?
I can't see them.
You can't.
So just tell us what they are.
Okay.
And maybe I can hold up. I'll give some visuals while you're.
Perfect. So when I'm looking at mind, I'm looking at the Fool. So the Fool is marked number 0 in the tarot. So it's the first card, but it's not even number 1. The Fool is significant because depending on the deck you have, it will look like somebody's stepping off a ledge or stepping off something very high. with a look on their face as if they have no idea where they're stepping. They don't know what's about to come next. Often people will describe the Fool as a feeling where they feel an intense calling to do something, even if it doesn't make sense with the overall trajectory of their life, even if it's very out of place. But they cannot shake the feeling, something in the gut, and it stays with them until they act on it. When we don't act on it, we suppress ourselves, and but also to act on it can feel very scary. So what I'm saying for you with the Fool is it might just be you feel like you've really taken a leap of faith by having me read you online. Hello, that could be it. But it could also be there's some other things going on in your life, some callings, some inner voice that you feel the need to listen to, even though your initial logical reaction is to just kind of quiet it, or to sweep it under the rug. But it's coming up for you in mind. So to me, I'm guessing this is something that's really on your mind, something you keep thinking about over and over and over again. It's taking quite a bit of headspace for you. And until you are honest and open with yourself about what it is your mind, body, and your spirit are all trying to link up and tell you, you're going to keep feeling this feeling of like restlessness, I guess is the best way to put it. Does that make sense? Did you identify with that at all? Or is it...
I have something in mind that totally makes sense. Cool.
Okay. When I'm looking at body, I'm looking at 3 of Wands. So I should explain. The way the tarot works is we have what's called the major arcana and the minor arcana. The major arcana are cards like the Fool, like the Magician, like the High Priestess, like the Devil, where there's no suit attached to them. Major arcana cards represent the big kind of life events and the big feelings that we go through in life. The minor arcana is separated into suits, just like any other deck of cards. We have wands, we have cups, we have pentacles, and we have swords. They all represent different parts to the human experience. I'm looking at 3 of Wands coming up for you in body. Wands is the suit that talks a lot about our passions, our desires, the fire inside of us. Often Wands is connected with the element of fire. And when I'm looking at 3 of Wands, what I'm seeing is that you physically in your body, and maybe you felt this in other parts of your life too, have had to work with a lot of challenges. Maybe they're not physical things that you've always been aware of. Maybe they're physical things that have been passed down to you. It could be intergenerational. It could be traumas. It could be X, Y, and Z. But physically, you have to work through a lot. Your body is still in a place where we are working on getting stronger. But that's been an upward journey and something that you're not at your full capacity yet in terms of like your physical being. But physically, any sickness that you feel comfortable sharing, are you even, maybe you're just getting over a cold right now or something else. If you're not comfortable sharing, you do not have to disclose. But
I
you feel okay. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a sickness or a disease. It just means that physically we're tired. Life has been hard and exhausting at times, and maybe you feel it physically in needing a lot more sleep. Maybe you feel it physically in some other type of thing that's going on with the body. I would normally pull more cards so we could get more understanding of what it is. But physically, we are in a place where we are just kind of working up our momentum again. Maybe you've just done something really exhausting. And your body is in a place of like, okay, I need to just kind of recharge a little bit.
I finished a book, so maybe that's all it is.
Yeah, so I would guess that that's probably a factor. And, you know, when we're in a state of having deadlines and having to have something like a book completed in a certain amount of time, you know, it puts a strain on physically the way we normally live and function, right? Maybe you're staying up really late, maybe whatever it is. But I'm seeing as now you're at a point where things are going to start to come back to feeling a little bit more normal, a little bit more synced up again.
I do want to say post-COVID, like everybody's like been, you know, you're at home all the time and not working out as much, so maybe it's that.
Could be. When I'm looking at spirit, I'm looking at the Magician. The Magician is another card that is part of the major arcana, so there's no suit attached to it. The Magician comes right after the Fool, so for me to see Magician and Spirit tells spiritually, you're a very lucky person. Sometimes luck has nothing to do with anything other than the way the ancestors wanted it to be for us. But spiritually, things fall into place for you easier than most. I don't know how in touch with spirituality you are in terms of, do you ever talk to ancestors or people that have passed away, or feel that they are like around you, or feel like there is something else kind of watching over you, making sure that no matter what happens and how difficult life gets, you're still going to be okay. You're still going to land on your feet, so to speak.
I do that. I talk to my mom.
Okay. So spiritually, there's somebody over you. And this isn't something that I typically work with, understanding and talking with people that have passed to the other side. But when I see the magician and coming up in spirit, it's a sign to me that, like, God, the universe, whatever term you use to understand and understand higher power, that thing has your back at all times, even on days when it doesn't feel that way.
Well, I like that.
Okay. When I'm looking at past, I'm looking at Three of Swords. Swords are the suit that talks about our mental. When we're looking at the tarot, and when we're understanding our mental health, and we're understanding our thought process, your point of view and your perspective, our point of view, how we choose to see the world, can either be our greatest weapon that we use to protect ourselves, or the thing we use to quite literally hurt ourselves most. So when we look at swords, I'm looking at Three of Swords coming up. In past, I'm seeing a lot of let's put it this way, a difficult past. I'm not going to get into it because we're in a public arena and we could talk more about it off screen. That's all I'm going to say about it right now. The only other thing I want to say about the past card is the past generally, we leave in the past. It doesn't have to come, and we don't have to carry anything that is too heavy anymore. But sometimes things come up in the past because we haven't fully processed it. We haven't fully worked through it. There's still lessons there. Doesn't mean we need to re-traumatize ourselves by going back to a difficult time in our life and staying there. It just means that sometimes these past cards come up as a reminder. Look how far you've come. Look how much you've gone through. Look how much you've survived. And I feel like that's kind of the overall message I want to give you about the past for you. You've been through a lot, but you've still survived all of your darkest days. Carry that knowledge with you as we move on into a new year, a new day, a new whatever. Okay?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I am. That was it. Okay. I was nervous and less nervous now.
Okay, good. Yeah, of course. When I'm looking at present, I'm the Two of Wands. Wands, again, is the suit that talks about our passions, our inner desires, our things, the things that we love that really spark joy and interest and make us feel alive. With Two of Wands, I'm seeing that in the present right now. That is where you're at. Two of Wands, a lot of people also will say is like, this is an interpretation of a twin flame or somebody else in our life that brings out all of those things that I just talked about. But for whatever reason in the present, Two of Wands, you're really in your element at this point in your life. Things are flowing. We just completed a book. You're doing very well. You might just be feeling very in your power. Continue to harness that because it's only going to grow if you can harness it and work with it. And finally, when I'm looking at future, I'm looking at Father of Pentacles. Pentacles is the suit that talks a lot about finances, money, monetary gains. Father of Pentacles is a more advanced, more grown-up, more mature version of Sun or Page of Pentacles, meaning that financially, and it doesn't always have to be about financially meaning your bank account. It can mean financially meaning your career. I mean, financially meaning where you live, financially meaning you possess and own. Financially, more is coming.
Okay, that's good to hear. I'll take it.
A couple more cards to get more information on it, but that's kind of it. That's a very short, condensed version of how a reading goes with me. Typically, readings are an hour, and we do the whole deck.
Right. But this is fascinating. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any questions? How do you feel?
I feel good. I mean, it sounds very positive, and are there any things I should look out for? Is it like, am I okay?
You're fine. I mean, do you feel okay?
Yes.
The thing with people that ask me, are they okay, is like, if you weren't, I think you would know.
Okay.
I'm not seeing anything that is really, really concerning. The only thing I will say is just remember to just let it go. Anything that doesn't serve you, even if that's thinking of yourself in your head, how you feel about yourself, how you talk to yourself, let it go. The past can stay there. And there are so many things many of us carry because we feel like we're supposed to, because we feel like it's our responsibility. You don't have to do that anymore. None of us should have to. And you're good.
Okay. Well,
The universe will always provide.
Nina, that's so great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, you're up. How do you feel? You ready?
Yeah, I got chills watching that. So yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. So, because you're a different person, I'm gonna kind of shuffle these cards a little bit and kind of just try to like them up a bit so that we don't have the same cards in the same order they were from before. And do you have any questions and times you want to set before we start?
No, I'm interested in just seeing, what you see.
Okay, cool. So here is the deck. How would you like me to split it up?
Can you run your hand along the top and go almost all the way to the very end, and then just put those last few cards on top, and then just split the deck?
Okay, now that the deck is split, what would you like me to do with it?
Put your left hand one on top.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all.
Okay, and then that little bitty bit, is it going on top or on the bottom? Sure. Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, so again, we're doing mind, body, spirit, past, present, future. When I'm looking at mind, what's coming up is judgment. Did something just come full circle for you?
It's hard to say. This has been a year of like the most change and loss I've ever gone through. So I'm still sort of seeing where the pieces are falling after a lot of those changes.
Judgment is a card that comes towards the end of the major arcana. So if we're looking at the tarot, each card talks about a different potential lived experience. Right? All cards represent different things we can go through and different things we experience throughout being a human being in this life. Judgment comes towards the end, which means that judgment means something is coming full circle. Something is closing. A chapter is not closed yet, but it's on its way. Maybe you're seeing things are making more sense now that you're this far out and we've begun a new year. Maybe a year ago, you might not have had the insight you've had now about relationships, people, things, places, whatever it is in your life. And judgment can feel like an overwhelming sense of serenity or peace is coming over us. Like, okay, shit makes sense now. This is the way things needed to go. And sometimes we look at judgment more in the decisions that we didn't make instead of the decisions that we did make.
Oh, well, this isn't, I guess, talking about like full circle and things coming to a close. Everyone, this is going to get real, so I appreciate you going on this journey with me. My mom died in May, and my brother's first child was born earlier this week. So it does feel like in something like cycles of, life and death. Does that fall on?
That's very common. It happens often in families where when a child is born, somebody else in the family, whether immediate or extended, is getting ready to pass. We see that a lot. And not only is it just kind of sometimes about the way life is, but it's also about a spiritual exchange that has to happen in order for things to be balanced. within family circles, within a lot of things. But I'm so sorry for your loss, and I can imagine how difficult that must be. And maybe that's where that judgment is coming from, is being able to be in a position now where we're seeing life start again. And the reminder, which is the only thing constant in this life, is change.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at body, I'm looking at 2 of Cups. So a lot of people think the Lovers is the card that talks about relationships and that talks about romance, but it's actually the 2 of Cups. We don't need to get too personal here, but how is your romance?
We can. I don't think my boyfriend can hear us right now, so we can get personal.
How is your romantic life going?
It's good. We just moved in together over the summer.
Okay, that makes sense why it's coming up in body, because I'm like, why in body is 2 of Cups coming? Sometimes 2 of Cups comes, to be very real with you, sometimes 2 of Cups will show up in body because the person just had sex with their partner, or the person is expecting or trying or working. They're in some physical change with a partner, if that makes sense. So if you're moved in together, you're literally closer to each other all the time. How is living together going?
I think you hit it on the head there. It's a lot of together time, but it's really fun.
Great. Is this the first partner you lived with?
Yes.
Were you scared?
Terrified.
Mm-hmm. You'll be living together for a very, 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 very long time. Just like, does that make sense?
Wait, say that again.
You'll be living together for a very long time. You will be cohabitating, whether it's married, engaged, whatever title you're looking for. I don't see any more. I don't see you 2, as long as you're on this earth, not living in the same space. That's how I
Oh my God.
Does that make sense?
Wow.
It doesn't mean that it's happening tomorrow, but it feels very secure. It feels very like it's very grounding and very secure and very like firm. Like now that you 2 are in this stage together, both feet are on the ground. And that's not always the way things were for you. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
When I'm looking at spirit, I am looking at the 4 of Swords. Again, Swords is the suit that talks about our mental, our mind, where we're at, how we're thinking about ourselves, what we say to ourselves internally. You need to give yourself a break. Good. You have been through a lot, and it's time to take a break. It's time to take a break. It's time to take a breather. Can you take a vacation? When was the last time any of us had one? I'm not talking about a real vacation where we're flying anywhere, but like, what does a break in an ideal world look like to you?
It's just a week without email or meetings.
Can you give that to yourself?
I can absolutely request that from my boss tomorrow.
You should. It's never too early in the year to take a mental health day, okay? 2020 is a shit show. And whatever you need to do to get through emotionally, spiritually, you need a real break. A real break. Not just a break where we don't work. That's a good start. But maybe a real break would be like, if you have the opportunity, can you get out into nature? If you have the opportunity, can you do a digital detox? If you have the opportunity, can you take a bath every fucking night and make sure that you're sleeping 10 hours a day and make sure that you're staying hydrated and make sure that you're eating lots of greens, because like your body is very tired. Your mind, body, and spirit are all like, hello, we're drained. Charge me, put me in a charger. Like, I'm really running on E over here. So give yourself a break because you deserve it.
I will. It's nice to hear the cards demand that of me.
Yeah, totally. When I'm looking at past, I'm looking at 10 of Pentacles. Pentacles is a suit, again, that talks about money. 10 of Pentacles is the most. We have cashed out, the most abundance. And for whatever reason, I'm seeing it in past. I don't know what that means. That doesn't mean abundance isn't still going to flow to you. But this feels personal and something that I don't want to get into a lot of your past finances in a digital realm, so we can talk about it offline.
Okay.
Okay, when I'm looking at present, I'm looking at justice again. Wow, justice and judgment coming back to back, and when readings, you're really going through a lot of extremes have happened for you.
Yeah.
Justice is, when I'm seeing justice in the present, I'm seeing justice is kind of the card that's like, what do you believe you deserve? That's what you will get. If you believe you deserve happiness, that's what you will give yourself. If you do not, that's what you will also give yourself. So you are in a place right now where you have worked to cultivate for a very long time in this life for yourself. It's not just been like willy-nilly easy. And the fact that you are here and you have arrived in this present, you are in a place where you're getting what you deserve in your present. This relationship, the way things have progressed in your life, we deserve to be here. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to speak your mind. You deserve to take breaks. Stop telling yourself, I can't, I have other people relying on me, because you, I feel like, are somebody that doesn't put yourself first. Often. And it sometimes a lot of us as women feel like, I have to do, I have to give, I have to for other people, and we burn ourselves out, and it's not fair. And it's just kind of a really terrible stereotype that's been put on us, is always give, and you come last. We're not doing that shit anymore, and it's time for you to give yourself what you deserve, and to really state out loud, I deserve to be here. And to claim that space and to just sit with that energy and give yourself whatever it is you need.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And when I'm looking at future, I'm looking at 8 of Wands. So you're also somebody that doesn't like to stay still for very long. You get bored really easily. Or just like, there's a lot of things you want to accomplish in your life. So we don't like to sit still very long, which is why giving yourself a break here is such a struggle. It's not a struggle because you can't. It's a struggle because idle time and having lots of breaks doesn't always feel natural to you. Is that correct?
Exactly correct.
And so even though I am preaching all this about give yourself a break, you deserve to be here, realistically, you're like, in a week I'll be on to a new project. And so something is going to come, whether it's another hobby, it's another project, it's another something that you want to kind of dive into. More projects, more things, more journeys are going to be happening for you. Maybe even you're already thinking in your head, like, we just moved into a space. Okay, let's redecorate. Like, whatever it is. And that's cool. Some people have that type of energy where they have that fire where they're like, I want to just keep going. I don't do good on vacations. After like 4 days, I'm like, can we get back to the real world? Let's go. But there's two sides to that coin. That's a lovely thing to have inside you, that spark and that energy and that fire, because you have so much you want to accomplish in your life. But you are going to have a long life, so you need to pace yourself. And also, I'm going to put this as gently as I can. Some of us like to move from one thing to the next because that's who we are, and it brings us joy, and it's exciting, and we don't like to sit still. Some of us do it because we are afraid of being alone with ourselves for too long. And there is something else we are trying to avoid or fill by jumping from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. In our society and the way we live, and God knows I live in New York City, this is like, for real, being busy is a coping mechanism. So it's important that you only say yes when you mean it. And no is a complete sentence too. Do not stress yourself up too thin, because you'll get lost in the mix of the busyness to be busy, and it won't feel as authentic to you as it can when you give yourself breaks and able to sit with yourself and able to process and really think, okay, why am I jumping from one thing to the next? What is the real reason? Does it suit me? Does it serve me? Is it good for me? If it's not, does it have to happen right now? That's what you need to be asking yourself.
Oh my goodness. Nina, I think you are a genius, and
Thanks.
You're amazing. Oh my goodness.
Thank you. And that's it. That's 10 minutes with me.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much.
How can people find you online if they want access to this?
So you can go check me out online. My website is ninayasmin.com. You can always schedule a reading through. You can send me an email. All of it is there. So yeah, that's really the best way. I also have a podcast. That my husband and I do, and you can always listen to our podcast. I talk about spirituality and a lot of other things there too.
And where can we find the podcast?
Everywhere. Stitcher, Apple, Spotify. It's called Lunita. And you can always listen to our podcast. We talk a lot about all different types of spirituality, and I'm currently studying to be a psychedelic therapist. So we talk a lot about psychedelic therapy too, and healing and all the different ways it can look.
And can I ask something else? Is there anything that we should have asked?
No, you did perfect. Do you feel like there's any questions you have that went unanswered or any clarity you need?
No, I wanted to know if there's something that we're missing, because you've done this so many times.
No, there's no wrong way to do it. The most important thing is that you're going into it willing to accept and to be open and honest with yourself and saying, you know what, I'm reaching out to the tarot because I need a little assistance, I need a little guidance, and I don't have the answers, and that's okay.
And also, am I saying it right? Is it tarot or tarot? How do I say it?
It really depends on how you want to say it. I don't get offended. I say tarot, but tomato, tomato, it's the same shit.
Oh, I think that Kass is frozen again. So, but we want to let you go on with your evening. We thank you so much for having us.
Anytime.
And,
thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. And congratulations on the book. And I hope you both have all the success and peace and love and light in 2020 and beyond, 2021 and beyond.
Say goodbye. If you can hold on first 1 second. I know that.
Sure.
But this was so great. Do you do a lot of online readings?
Yes, all the time.
All the time. So wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. It's great. It's been a really lovely way to integrate a lot of journeys I've learned from spirituality and to incorporate spirituality into therapy. Like I said, I'm a therapist, so for me, this is like the spiritual version of the psychotherapy I give.
Well, and at this moment, we're all stuck at home. It's great that you get to do this and we get to take part. Thank you so much.
Totally. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to get to know you both online, and happy 2021 and beyond. Be safe and take care of yourselves. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Oh, that was a lot.
Oh, that was so cool. And Danielle, thank you for letting all of us sit in on yours. Like, I felt like that was illuminating and like unbelievably moving to listen to.
Well, it's very personal. I'm very surprised.
Oh yes, so the link to Nina's website is in the chat. Thanks, Constance.
Yeah, definitely gonna be going back and exploring. Well, after that very beautiful and intimate moment, are you ready for some audience questions?
Yes, let's get back to witches. Now that I've bared my soul for you all.
Yeah, thank you guys for sitting in on this.
It was very beautiful. It was very powerful. Thank you for sharing it. I mean, that it's an intimate moment, so thank you for sharing that with us. Oh, that was just so beautiful. Okay. Speaking of self-care, the first question we have then is, what are you doing for self-care during this pandemic?
I would say a lot of walks and bubble baths and just spending time with my fiance and just like trying to have those moments that are calm.
Yes, audiobooks have been a saving grace for me this year. I fall asleep listening to somebody tell me a story and revisiting a lot of classics from childhood or things I should have read as a kid. I found that very soothing.
Yeah, we were talking about what you were reading and reading an audiobook yesterday, and just that you were doing the re-listen to Bridget Jones. I want to do that now. So
It's delightful.
That sounds like so much fun. So I know you guys talked a little bit about writing the Ravens, but this audience member, DJ, is asking, was there anything specifically that inspired the Ravens? What was the initial spark of the idea?
I actually had the idea, like, before I read Dorothy, to do a book about sorority witches. I like the idea of putting these two things together. Witches and sororities are both, they have these histories and are not always thought of in a positive light. And it just kind of made this kind of perfect meld of where would witches hide out in the modern world. And I really wanted to write it with someone who I respect and love, and who's a fellow writer witch. And I asked Kass, and she said yes. And we ironed out this cool plot together and figured out where girls were, and got to write this witchy fun book that I think is kind of a throwback to all the things that we loved growing up with the craft and practical magic and Buffy. And so I think it has kind of an old school yet modern feel.
You just listed like all of the things that just make the heart happy. I'm like, oh, The Craft. I don't think you can watch that movie like too many times. It is impossible to like overwatch it.
It's so good.
I will ask this one, since we're running a little short on time, I will ask Kass, maybe you want to illuminate this one a little bit more, but another question was, how exactly did the two of you become writing partners? Was it just you reached out and asked her and was like, hey, want to be writing buddies? Or how exactly did that happen? How did your partnership form?
Yeah, it was magical. I had been an admirer of Danielle's, and I had been a fan, and then we met at an event and became friends. And then she basically gave me the most incredible gift you can give a writer, which is that she came with me with this like incredible idea, fully cooked, and asked if I wanted to co-write it with her. And it was just like handing me this imaginative gift that all I had to do was like pull the ribbon, and all I got to enter this world. Because like Nina astutely put out in her reading, I have really trouble committing to projects. I bounce around, and it's very, very hard for me to say, yes, this is it. So with Danielle, I sort of had that magical moment of like, yes, I know this is it, because Danielle's already working on it. So it was this like moment of inspiration and also like accountability. Like I couldn't bail. So I definitely needed that structure too.
An accountability buddy is such a nice thing to have.
Yeah, as a creative person, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So the next question is, I've actually gotten to go to Savannah before, and I think there's another author once who put it, and they put the South, while very troubled, it's also a beautiful place. And that's always stuck with me. So this question is, how did you decide to pick Savannah, Georgia? Because it's a small city / town full of so much history. So how did that become the location for the book?
I grew up in Georgia, so it just felt like to me, I thought, and we both love Midnight and Midnight of what's that, Midnight and Good and Evil? Like, we love that book, and the movie, and we really wanted to be like the spirit of that town. And Kass went there and visited, and she kind of like did all our in-person research.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
the greenery.
Yeah, that was another selling point for me when Danielle said that she sort of imagined the college in Savannah, which wasn't a city I had visited beforehand. I went for research, but in my mind, it was always sort of like with New Orleans, like the heart of American magic. I grew up reading books where like magic seemed to only be at creepy boarding schools in England. And then I think it was when I read Midnight, the Garden of Good and Evil, it's like, oh, there's this like long tradition of American folklore and magic and spiritualism, and like we have just as much cool magical history as other countries do. So it was really exciting to set a book there.
We're just as magical. And then this, I like this question a lot. especially since you just had your readings. But this one is, when you were researching tarot, what did you learn that surprised you the most? Especially since you guys, it seems like you've had years kind of interacting with it and whatnot.
Yeah, I think my research was learning to read cards in college and doing readings. And what surprised me the most at the time, and makes me completely unsurprised that Nina incorporates it into her therapy practice, is that it is therapy. Like, I don't know if when I started reading, I believed the veil was parting and I was connecting to some mystical source of knowledge. But I really felt like when I was reading people's cards, their true feelings and their fears came out, and the cards provided sort of a platform for dialogue that I found really powerful. And also it was, you know, an honor to get to share that space with someone.
Yeah.
I agree.
So is it the same for you, Danielle, as well? When you were learning how to read and everything?
For me, I didn't know anything about it. Like, I think I had my cards read once in New Orleans, and once when at a bachelorette party, and the tarot reader told me that I would have like 10 years of bad luck or something, and I was terrified after that. And so I was a little bit more, I think, a little bit more trepidatious of the cards, but like the more I learned about them, and I love the idea that it goes so much deeper, and I think that Mallory's take on that and Kass's take on them really was like the perfect thing for a book.
Nice. And this one is kind of a little bit of a follow-up to that question, but it says, is there a major arcana or minor arcana / suit that you're particularly drawn to?
Well, I think probably throughout the writing process, we became sympathetic or sort of felt connected to the suits of our characters. So the character I wrote, Vivi, is a Pentacles witch. She's a Cups. Scarlet is the Cups witch. Vivi's the Pentacles witch, which is earth magic. So she's, you know, it is sort of earthly things, like Nina said. It's, you know, money and finance, but it's also, you know, plants and the earth. And it was sort of interesting writing a character through that perspective, where she could sort of feel her magic bubbling up from the ground, and how would that affect her relationship to the world.
And like Scarlet can literally make it rain or storm when she's upset, and it's so she's very connected to water and her feelings, and I love that.
Oh, that would be so cathartic, like to actually have like the environment around you, like to have it rain or sunshine in reaction to, like, who needs a mood ring if you literally have like the sky as your mood ring? That's like,
yeah,
oh, that
I
would
love
be
that.
amazing.
Yeah, I love the sky as your mood ring.
That is lovely.
And this person is wondering, and since both of you have learned to read and have done it for a little bit, maybe you'll have some pointers for them. But this person asks, what do you suggest for beginners learning tarot?
I still don't know how to read. I think that Kass knows how to read.
I think it's trusting your instincts and sort of unlearning a lot. It's that, you know, we've been told that things like gut instincts or intuition are sort of coincidences or moments we've sort of convinced ourselves that there's forces at work that aren't. And I think it's about getting back to that place where, you know, when you are shopping for your deck, like feeling your connection to the art and the texture of the cards, like that's real. And like that tingle you get is real. And to sort of trust that what you're feeling is valid. And I think that's a good jumping off point.
Nice. There's definitely something to be said about listening to your body. I think we always put so much importance on like the intellectual in our brains, which is very important. But there's also that like intuition we almost kind of stifle sometimes. And there's something very freeing about embracing it a little bit more and letting it kind of also have its turn.
And I also like the idea that like this, like the world being filled with magic, like gives us little hope right now. There's so much going on, and I feel like just thinking of like what is magical in your life is special, and whether that's like, you know, it's like holding hands with the guy that you love, whether it's like taking a walk, whether it's like whatever you're doing, and finding those moments that mean something to you, and that's the magic. And like meeting Mallory, and the first time I met her, I knew I wanted to write with her, and it's I like, this girl has to be my friend, like that. that's friendship magic, right? So I think that there's like magic everywhere, and if we can, like the ravens, if they find their sisterhood, we're trying to find the magic where we can.
And I'll share this. Well, all of my friends know this, but now the whole internet will know it. But my friend circle, we call each other a coven.
I love
We're
that.
like, yeah, so that's what we call each other. So I'm all about the magic of like sisterhood and your friends around you.
Hell
And
yeah.
this, right? Heck yeah. This next question is, are you interested in astrology as well? I think some people, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. Do you think astrology has kind of the same weight or potential spiritual guidance, or what kind of your thoughts and views on astrology as well?
I mean, I've been reading my horoscope since I was a kid, and I like there's something about like reading like what's supposed to happen, and then having that moment in your head of like what you like there's a space in which you figure out what you really want to happen. So I kind of in the reaction. I don't know if it's as weighty or weightier than cards. Cass, what do you think?
They're really connected, and I'll, in order to read tarot successfully, I have to get more acquainted with astrology. It's something I haven't really thought about that much until I had a bunch of friends get into it at the same time, especially my friend Emily, who, like, on the one hand is like the most logical, practical person I know. She like went to Stanford. She speaks like 4 languages, and she's really into astrology, and that's what like sealed deal for me. I'm like, all right, this has to be legit.
She's a beautiful combination of the left and right brain marrying one another. And then my final question for you, since we are running out of time, is what are you ladies working on right now? Is there going to be a book 2 or another book in this universe? Any personal projects you'd like to mention? The floor is yours to let us know what you're working on and what people can look forward to.
Cass, do you want to tell them?
Yes, we just finished the sequel to The Ravens. I don't know if we've released the title yet.
We have.
But yes, it's very exciting. After narrowly, falling prey to wicked magic in book 1, they find an even more dangerous enemy to face in book 2, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have so much.
And Danielle also has a bunch of projects.
I have a Fairy Godmother origin story coming out in the fall, and a couple of DC Comics projects, and some other stuff.
Just the casual 3 pots on the burner always going at the same time. Well, I want to thank both of you so incredibly much for joining us this evening. This was an amazing way to get to kick off a week. I wish more Mondays had this like calm, spiritual, awesome book celebration-esque to them. So I think we've lost Cass. I'm so sorry. We'll wait. I'll keep rambling about how awesome the event was while we wait for her to come back.
Yeah, we can wait for her to come back. But this was so lovely. It's a really good way to start out the year, and it was so much fun. Thank you for having us. I love your bookstore. I just remember that when I was there last, you did there was a drawing of the Mira cover in chalk on the chalkboard, and it was so much fun. It was Mary Pearson, and I got to talk about her book, and it was great.
I have to give like a huge shout out to Darcy. Darcy is one of our store's artists, and she's the one who always does like amazing chalkboard art. So shout out to Darcy.
Shout out to Darcy.
And thank you all for your patience as I went in and out tonight. I apologize for that, Constance. Thank you. And thank you, Mysterious Galaxy. Yes, can't handle my magic.
Yeah,
and hopefully next time we'll get to come see you all in person. We would love to do an event there.
Yeah, I am crossing my fingers.
I would love to say thank you guys for having us and for sitting through our readings. And I hope that you like tarot. And if you don't like it, thank you for sitting through it. And we hope that you enjoy the Ravens, and happy 2020.
Yes.
It was such a treat. And thank you guys so much. And like you said, Cass, I hope next time we get to celebrate book 2 in person. That's going to be my New Year's wish. But thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Don't forget, if you want to purchase this book and all of its witchy, amazing sorority goodness inspired by tarot magic. Well, not tarot magic, but the tarot cards. Make sure you click the buy button down below, and we will see all of you in the next event. What?
I think we're signing book plates for these too.
Yes. signing book plates, and you have until a week from now to get a personalized book plate, which is really awesome. So we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Good night. Have a witchy inauguration week, everybody.